so I'm not giving the Cliff Note version. Tonight's performance is obviously, it looks as though it's in modern dress. For me, I have to confess, Hamlet is not one of my favorite plays. I find Hamlet at times tedious in his...
This is a great promo for Dante's Inferno. But if you have to see it.
No. The language. The poetry is unsurpassed.
This is an event planner's nightmare.
For those of you still thinking of going, it is a play to be read.
Let me just say, the play opens, as you know, actually, I think it's in the second scene of the play, one of several soliloquies of Hamlet that really are amongst Shakespeare's best lines, best speeches. Oh, that this too solid flesh would melt, thaw, resolve itself into a dew, or that the everlasting had not fixed his canon against self-slaughter. Here Hamlet, as we see him, even before he has encountered the ghost of his murdered father, he's contemplating suicide. That the everlasting had not fixed his canon against self-slaughter. And he goes on in that soliloquy, talking about how terrible he feels about the haste, not only the death of his father, but immediately on the burial of his father, the marriage between his mother and his uncle. And imagine this Paul is a little older than 25 or 30. But imagine this young man come back to his father's funeral, and his mother has married his uncle, who is no more like his father than I to Hercules, I think is the line. And then a scene or two later where he encounters the ghost, and the ghost gives him the charge, "Avenge my foul and most unnatural murder." On top of the fact that his mother has married his uncle, it's revealed to him that his uncle has murdered his father. And not only that, the ghost lays on him the responsibility to avenge that foul and most unnatural murder. So Hamlet, here is this young man, and he's got this triple whammy in the very first act of the play. This charge, and he, you understand, for the Elizabethan, this is a divine charge. He has a moral obligation. A moral obligation to carry out the charge of the ghost.
Oh, yes.
To avenge the death, the murder of his father. Well, Hamlet's not a man of action. Hamlet is a poet. He's a man of language, of words, of contemplation. And so we go through 3 acts of his wrestling with what to do. Oh, is the ghost real? Maybe it's an evil ghost. If I killed Claudius, how do I explain that? Do I say, oh, a little ghost told me to? How's that going to go over? And then it's a play about betrayal, where people he thinks love him and people he loves become tools were used against him to spy on him, betray him. And then we come to, and I'm going to wrap it up here, we come to Act 3, where finally he's decided, okay, yes, I have to take action. The guilt of Claudius has been proven to him in the play within the play, as we'll see tonight. So the ghost, he's convinced of his uncle's guilt. So now he's resolved to take action against his uncle. Now when is the opportunity? Oh, he comes upon his uncle, and his uncle is alone. No guards around, no one else around. And his uncle is on his knees, seemingly in prayer. Hamlet has the perfect moment, perfect opportunity to act, to take his sword, to follow through with the moral charge of the ghost, to avenge his foul and most unnatural murder. And what does he do? He says, no. I won't kill him while he's at prayer, because I don't want to send his soul to heaven. I'll kill him at some point when he's in his adulterous bed and send his soul to hell. And there he has stepped over the line, because now he's playing God. He's playing God. He's determining the fate of Claudius' soul. And that moment when he can act slips through his fingers. And from that moment on, I suggest you know sort of the 5-act structure of a Shakespearean tragedy. That's the turning point of the play in Act 3. From that point on, Hamlet's fate's sealed. And everything turns against him and turns down. And I won't tell you how the play ends, but in 3 hours after it's open, you'll see.
3.5.